Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning as you start coming in. It's welcome to Banner and Backbone. Today is another vet talk that we are having. Today's Valor and Honor. And we have our special guest, Ken Harbaugh, with us. Ken is a major piece of the Valor Media Network. He is a contributor on the Midas Touch Network. Um, and most importantly, at this point too, he's a Navy vet, and he's a Navy fighter. You're a pilot,
Pilot.
correct?
Yep. Recon
Um,
pilot. EP3.
Recon. Okay, awesome. You guys are pilots, freaking awesome. Like,
Thank you.
uh,
Good to be here.
to not derail our introduction of you. Pilots are awesome because my oldest brother or was an Apache mechanic, is and flew in Iraq with the Apaches, and so he was the reason I went into the Army. And pilots are incredible. Like, I watched Top Gun movies growing up. I'm pretty sure everybody here, most people here did. And so it's an honor to have you with us, Ken. Thank you for joining us today. Can you introduce yourself to everyone? I'm going to pull up our chat and drop your links to your show, but I wanted to give you the floor to introduce yourself now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Nick. As you already said, I'm a former Navy pilot. Feels like a lifetime ago. Since then, I have taught, I have helped build and lead veteran service organizations, including Team Rubicon, where I was the president of Team Rubicon Global, produced the documentary film Against All Enemies, which hit #1 on Apple TV. I wish it had made more of a difference, because it was about why we need to take seriously the recruitment of our brothers and sisters, military veterans, into extremist organizations like the Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, and Three Percenters. Now, of course, the worst actors in that world have been pardoned and put on a pedestal and are likely being recruited into ICE as we speak. So that's the short version. I have a show on the Midas Touch Network, the Ken Harbaugh Show. But let's talk all things VA, because that place is imploding right now.
Yeah, it's imploding before our eyes. And I'm a disabled vet who uses the VA. That is my healthcare system and my healthcare service. I'm out of Arkansas, and I've been part of the destruction, unfortunately, as I lost my primary care doctor 7 months ago, and I just reestablished care couple weeks ago, and I was in the middle of a 2.5 year fibromyalgia diagnosis, which makes it even worse. And so one of the things I wanted to talk with Ken about was some of the destruction that is going on at the VA, and especially about the policy proposal, to strip veterans of their right to have an abortion, or abortion counseling, and to strip CHAMP VA recipients of abortion and abortion counseling as well, which is really impactful because not only does it impact veterans directly, but it impacts all of our families if we're on CHAMP VA. And those who are on CHAMP VA are the most disabled amongst us, or the most needy amongst us, because we need the most help, and the most support, and that's being taken away. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and what we can be doing as individual citizens to push back on it.
Well, Nick, I am glad, especially that you mentioned the proposed prohibition on even counseling. If this goes through, if this policy change is implemented, it will mean that doctors cannot even talk to their patients about their options. And I think it's incumbent upon us. I mean, look at us. Like, I understand who we are in this conversation. We need to fight for our sisters in uniform, our sisters in arms, who are being made the victims of, let's just say it out loud, a Christian nationalist agenda that has now infected the VA. This isn't about science. This isn't even about, a debate about healthcare. It's about Christian nationalism. It's
Yeah.
about a philosophy, a theory of government, of societal organization that is overtaking the whole of American society from the Trump regime on down, and it's affecting our sisters in arms, and we damn well better speak out about it. The other thing that we have to acknowledge is that this is affecting a community, the women who served in uniform, that has experienced rates of MST that would shock most people outside the military sexual trauma. Up to a one-third of women who serve in uniform have been victims of some form or another of it, and now they're being told they can't even talk to their doctors about what they went through and what their options might be.
Yeah. And we have to let that sink in. It's like, you can't even talk about the options. And take that with the Marine Corps has removed their reporting mechanism for sexual assault and sexual abuse. And I'm sure the Army and the Navy and the Air Force won't be far behind at this point either, because the JAG Corps has been stripped and gutted. And you're right, it's an attack on the female population of our, not just veterans, but of America. Like, the thing I hope I'm trying to get across in a lot of ways is it starts with veterans, and if they can get away with it with us, then they can get away with it for everyone. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I used to feel that veterans were a protected class in some ways.
Yeah.
We talk about third rails in politics, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans. That concept has been just blown up by
Yeah.
MAGA and the Trump regime. And you might be right. Maybe the opposite of what I held is actually true. That if they can dismantle the third rails of American politics, if they can attack Medicare and Medicaid, if they can go after veterans and get away with it, if they can shut down the suicide hotline and not pay any consequences, not experience or suffer any kind of accountability, then they can do whatever the hell they want. And they're somewhat winning this fight at the VA. The good news is that when we make noise, they sometimes back down.
Yeah.
There's that saying that is so popular in our circles these days that courage is contagious, and that is absolutely true.
Hmm.
That is absolutely true. We need to exhibit our own courage as often as we can so that it catches on. We need to draw inspiration from others. But the opposite of that idea is also true. Cowardice is contagious, and you see it on the right. You see it in MAGA. You see it in these Republican town halls across the country. They are terrified. They are scared of their own shadows. They're especially scared of their constituents, which is why they refuse to talk to them. But when we stand up to the VA and to the Trump regime, they back down. And we saw
Yeah.
that with the massive proposed cuts of 86,000. Granted, 30,000 is too many, but they scaled back from 86,000 to 30,000 after the Unite for Veterans rally on the National Mall on D-Day. And they reinstated the Veterans Mortgage Assistance Program. So if we
Good.
make enough noise, we can be heard. And I'm so glad you're doing this today, Nick, because tomorrow, September
Hmm.
3rd, is the last day for public comment to register our outrage, our disapproval at this policy change that would forbid veterans and those in uniform from even talking to their doctors about their options when it comes to reproductive care.
Yeah. And they want it. I read through the policy proposal change, and they're trying to play the word game as best as they can in this, and they're being wordy and they're being manipulative, and they're saying that, oh, this won't impact emergency services. um
Don't
what are your
believe
thoughts what
a
are your
word they
thoughts on
say.
that?
They're lying. Look, they're lying. And we know because every time we've gotten this kind of reassurance. Do you remember RFK's hearings when he was
Yeah.
up for confirmation? And look what actually happen. Slashing mRNA research, eviscerating the vaccine governance board. Like every time they offer one of these assurances, it rings hollow because they just cannot be trusted. Don't trust them. I hope you're going to be able to put a link down below, Nick, but the public comment period is open today and probably through midnight tomorrow is my guess, midnight Eastern tomorrow. And you don't have to be a veteran to comment. You don't have to be, you
Just a
don't have to
citizen.
be just a citizen. Anybody can comment. If you care about women, if you care about veterans, if you care about science-based healthcare, the other thing about these comments is that they are public record. When and if there is accountability for insane decisions like this, and I think there will be, this will be part of the documentation that showed just how angry Americans were at what the Trump regime was doing. Be a part of that. Go to the site,
Yes.
register your public comment, make your voice heard.
Yeah, and we posted this before. There it is. I'm grabbing the link to the that goes straight to the comment section to leave your comment. Is Chris Goldsmith talked about this on the Find Out podcast, I think last week. And then immediately that day, I put out the link. It's going to be in the show notes for today's show. So please, after the show, when I put it out, it'll be about 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish my time, or 2 o'clock Eastern time. You should have a link. Is please go put a comment in. Chris Goldsmith was talking about it the other day too, saying that it's working. Like citizen pushback is working, is we are outnumbering the bot comments.
Which is
Uh,
crazy. I mean,
yeah,
it's cheap to throw 1,000 bot comments onto a comment page. It takes real work and passion and dedication for real humans to show up, and real humans are now outnumbering the right-wing trolls and bots, which is a great sign.
which is huge, and it's amazing to see that people actually care, because that's democracy. Like, you want to know what civics and action and democracy is, the banner and backbone. The whole point of us is to give everyone an entry point that is super low. The bar to entry for civics is low. It's engagement. It's getting onto these lives. It's sharing them. It's doing the hearts, but then it's also going to the comment section and putting in the comment and actually doing the step that we're asking you to take. It's free. It's free to do. You don't have to
Right.
pay to do any of it. And it takes you 5 minutes. Like, do 5 minutes. You can do that. You can put an impassioned comment in 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be long. Like, it doesn't have to be a long comment. Make it personal and make it count. You mentioned something, Ken. I want to shift topics just a little bit, is about if and when we get the chance to hold folks accountable. And I think that's a really important step, is we need to prepare for and document everything as we're going to hold people accountable. You talk about um a like a policy platform that is based on um I forget the exact word.
I look
But it's
on my show, I talk about an accountability agenda.
yes,
And I
there it
want to
is.
see Democratic candidates for office across the country, from the school board on up, talk about an accountability agenda for a couple of reasons. I mean, primarily because law and order matters. No one should be above the law. And when we have ICE agents running wild through our streets, wearing masks, dragging families out of cars, ripping families apart, there needs to be accountability for that kind of thing, all the way up to the top, right? All the way up to Kristi Noem and the policies that she is pushing down to those agents. There has to be accountability because in a society that purports to value law and order, that matters. But I also think that an accountability agenda, if Democratic representatives and candidates start talking about it wherever they go, will have a deterrent effect. I think, back to this point about cowardice being contagious, maybe the one thing that will stop that ICE agent from brutalizing another one of our neighbors, if it's not their own conscience, it might be fear of consequences, right? If they
Hmm.
hear everyone around them talking about you will be held accountable, we will find out who you are and what you did. And just like the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions that help put countries back together, like South Africa and Germany, I think we may need that kind of thing to have the kind of accountability and faithfulness to law and order that is required, and to heal the wounds that these people and the policies that they are enforcing, the brutal and I think illegal and unconstitutional policies that they are enforcing, to come to terms with those when this passes.
Yeah, yeah, and I thank you for finding the word and telling me the word. The accountability agenda. I have fibro, so I live in a fog sometimes. But the importance of that, I think, wraps back to the VA though, is the accountability agenda. And one of the reasons that we talk about everything that the VA is doing, and that's what is happening at the VA, is an accountability means that 50,000 people kept their jobs for VA. We held them accountable for trying to push out 80 some odd thousand people, and we stopped them at 30. Like that's a good thing. And we celebrate the wins, but we also then take the action to the next step, which is why we've asked everyone to leave a public comment on the VA policy proposal, which is a big part of this theme for today, is the VA policy proposal to strip veterans and CHAMP VA recipients of the ability to have abortion care or abortion um, consultations. Um, and they say this won't affect emergencies, but it will, because uh, uh, when you stop being able to provide abortions, you don't have pregnancy doctors and OBGYNs who can then perform safe abortions that are needed for things like miscarriages.
There's also the climate of fear that this
Yeah.
inevitably leads to. And if you have any doubt about what I'm talking about, talk to a Texan. Talk to a woman in Texas. Talk to someone who has needed this kind of care and been stranded, bleeding in their car in an emergency room parking lot, where we were told this would not happen because it didn't affect emergency care. It is happening right now. Women are bleeding out in these states with these draconian anti-abortion laws, even though we've been reassured that it won't affect emergency care, because doctors are afraid. Healthcare providers are afraid. They don't understand the limits of the law, or they don't trust the people charged with enforcing those laws, who on one hand are saying this isn't going to affect emergency care, on the other hand are proposing bounties on women and healthcare providers, who actually provide healthcare. In Texas, there's a $10,000 bounty, a citizen vigilante bounty on anyone who assists with an abortion. So yeah, healthcare providers are afraid, and they should be, because the current regime is terrorizing them. Anyone who cares about women and the provision of reproductive health care in these deep red states, and my God, the VA is about to look like a deep red state, they have a right to be afraid, and it's up to us to have their backs.
Yes. Yeah. It's up to us. And part of that us, and a major part of that us, are men who look like us.
Yeah.
And we need to stop being silent and stop going, it's not my problem. Because it is your problem. It's your problem. It's all of our problems when half of the population does not have access to healthcare that's helpful, like, or provides health. Like, women shouldn't be dying to have babies. We're one of the highest mortality, like child mortality rates and pregnancy related death mortality rates in the world. For a first world country, we're not that. We're not first world anymore. Like, we can't call ourselves that if we're going to let women die in the streets. And so you talked a little bit about Christian nationalism, which is a huge part of all of this, and it's something Bobby Jones and I've talked about too on some of the shows, is the attack on women, specifically in places of leadership throughout the military. Can you talk about some of the firings that have happened and the replacements that have gone on in the DoD itself, and how that's impacting military readiness. And maybe the big one is going to be retention.
Yeah. Well, this has nothing to do with competence or, to use Pete Hegseth's favorite term, lethality. It's a purge to align more closely with his Christian nationalist vision for the country. And it starts with his Department of Defense. I mean, this is the same Secretary of Defense who retweets an extremist Christian pastor who doesn't believe that women should have the right to vote. And Pete Hegseth reposts that approvingly with the caption, "All of Christ for all of life." I have no problem with people wearing their faith on their sleeves. I have no problem with people expressing their faith openly. But when you are the Secretary of Defense, when you are responsible for the health and welfare and the lethality of a 2 million person department, to put that front and center and to demonstrate it in a way that is demeaning, that amplifies someone who thinks that women shouldn't have the right to vote, that is a dereliction of duty. And it is already affecting morale. If you are one of our sisters in arms, I don't know what to say, because we need your service as much as we need anybody's. And to have it degraded and demeaned by the Secretary of Defense, who couldn't even manage a small veterans nonprofit, it's just a slap in the face.
Yeah, I couldn't put that any better. Um, the one of the people that we haven't spoken about in all of this is the VA Secretary Doug Collins. Um, and I'd love to get your thoughts real quick because I know we only have a few more minutes with you before you have to jump off. We are going to continue our show for the full hour. I saw Jacob Summers come in. He's one of my friends from the Army. We're going to pull him in. And when Fred Pogue gets here, we'll pull him on as well for the second half of the show. Um, but I want to get your thoughts on Doug Collins and what his either culpability or his mindset or how he fits into this picture in what Pete Hegseth's vision of the military is supposed to be.
I think Secretary Collins suffers from the same affliction that all of these secretaries suffer from, that just about anybody at a senior level in the Trump regime suffers from, which is confusion about who they work for and where their loyalty should actually lie. Secretary Collins, as is the case with Hegseth and Gabbard and all of the others, swore the same oath that we did, not to Donald Trump, not to any one individual, but to the Constitution of the United States. And day after day, we are given ample evidence that they either don't understand that or willfully ignore that, because they are doing whatever the president demands that they do, even if it undermines their oaths to the Constitution, even if it hurts the national security of the country. You saw that Secretary Gabbard, our D&I secretary, just outed an undercover CIA operative on Twitter as part of a package of 37 individuals at the CIA who had the temerity and the courage to tell the truth, and they're being punished for it by having their security clearances revoked, and in one case, their identity as an undercover CIA operative exposed. I think that mindset infects that entire layer of government. They feel like their job is to keep the president happy and not to abide by their oaths and not to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I'm so glad you said that about the oath and the what they're doing, because the outing isn't a coincidence and it's a pattern at this point. Is through the investigative work that Ellie Leonard is doing, she identified that they also outed a child, Jane Doe, during the Maxwell transcripts and without that person's permission. And I won't go into anything about it in terms of what was said, what was written. Ellie is very specific about what she's talked about and how she's talked about it so that she does not reveal anything about that Jane Doe. But outing is like part of their game because it's fear. It creates fear and it
Yeah.
instills fear in people to make victims or those of us who are speaking out less likely to. And I personally, I'm going to say I'm not going to stop speaking out. In fact, I'm going to speak out more because I have the privilege to do that. And until they take it away from me and lock me up, I'm going to keep speaking out. Like, it's my damn country. I fought for it. I swore an oath. My parents taught me that it was the Constitution and it's my right to do all these things. And Ken, I wanted to give you the floor for the last couple minutes while we've got you. Is I haven't been able to ask this yet, but you've talked about it a lot, is accountability. In your mind, what does accountability look like for someone like Pete Hegseth or Secretary Collins or those who are hurting and killing veterans?
Well, I think the ultimate accountability is going to be delivered by the judgment of history. I'm not going to play the part yet of a
Yeah.
legal judge and jury, but I have a strong feeling that the judgment of history is not going to be kind. In fact, I think it is going to be so harsh, especially for the people who are targeting the most vulnerable among us, the Steve Millers, folks like that. I suspect their children are going to change their names and pretend that they have had nothing to do with that parent. And I suspect their grandchildren will not even know who they are because that is how deep this stain is and how lasting their shame will be from what I think is one of the most shameful periods in American history. We're living it right now.
Thank you. I I totally agree. Um, and I want, before you go, I want to say thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. It's been an incredible honor to have you with me, um, and to get to speak to you. I hope we get to speak to you again, and have some of our other incredible vet co-hosts come on as well, and talk with you. I think now is the most important time that we speak out. Um, and so, Ken, where can everybody find you before you go?
Oh,
And
thanks.
how can people follow you and
Yeah,
support you?
thanks for the plug. The Ken Harbaugh Show on the Midas Touch Network, and honestly, any of our incredible hosts on the Valor Media Network. Just Google it or go to YouTube and look up the Valor Media Network. We're fighting back with every everything we've got.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm
Thanks, Nick.
glad I'm glad that vets are coming out of the woodwork. Thank you, Ken. Um, I look forward to speaking to you again. And it's great to see vets standing up for other vets, but also standing up for the Constitution. So Ken, hope to see you again soon. And this was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Count on it. Let's talk again soon. Thanks, Nick.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Thank you all for the first half of our show. I am going to see if Jacob is still here and grab Jacob, who is a good friend of mine from the Army. We served together. And if and when Fred Pogue decides to pop his head in, we may try and grab him too. Um, and if not, you'll get to hear me monologue for half an hour about the VA and Pete Hegseth, because I got some thoughts on Pete Hegseth and they're not always very nice. Um, but I'm going to keep it more professional than I would on my own show for the sake of this show. Banner and Backbone is a little bit more laid back for me right now. I'm very amped up about it and I'm very mad. And I'm going to continue to put into our comment chat and make sure that afterward, too, is that everybody, please, please, please go sign the or comment on the VA policy proposal change that would impact abortion access and counseling for veterans and CHAMP VA recipients. This impacts a lot of the veteran community, just in general, because it straight impacts women and is discriminatory against their ability to have safe and equal and accessible healthcare. Um, it also impacts anyone who is on Champ VA. And for those who do not know, Champ VA is a cost sharing program for healthcare that is accessible to veterans who are very disabled on the higher end of the disability list, closer to 190 to 100%, if not over on the extended charts. It is for families and for people who don't have other insurance and need the support. It is basically a secondary insurance that some people rely on as primary. I trust me from experience, I'm signing up for Champ VA. Like this is an attack on my family. Um, I'm a dual veteran family. Like this is a direct attack on my family, and it's horseshit. Um, and it's unacceptable that we live in a state that is so ready, and I say state, I mean country, that is so ready to tear away all of the rights for nearly half its population, if not over half the population. Like, sorry, it's unacceptable that the US has become a place of subjugation and fear rather than freedom and bravery. Like, now is the time when we need citizens to step up and be brave and be willing to put their voices out there. Um, and to do the simple act of signing and leaving a comment on the VA policy proposal. It's free. Like the part of Banner and Backbone is helping to remind and teach people that the entry to civics and the entry to engagement is free, it's easy, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Democracy doesn't have to take a lot of time. You can do it easily. This is one step that we can do together that is easily achieved so that we can all benefit. Like it is important that you sign and provide a comment on the VA policy proposal change. 73 of us are in this live right now. If 73 people sign it and put a comment on the policy proposal change, at least half of the people in this group would then forward it to somebody else to also sign. If all of us put this out, like I'm going to put it out on the post show notes for everybody to sign, and then I'm going to drop it in chats for everybody to know. That's what I do. That's part of my job. I do this as a job now. And please come support Banner and Backbone and Sick of This Shit with Nick. Go support Ken Harbaugh. He was an incredible guest of ours. I'm so glad I got to talk to him. I look forward to speaking to him again. He's in the list now of fantastic veteran guests that we've had, of retired Navy Commander Bobby Jones, of retired Army, I believe, I don't want to get his rank wrong. He's retired from the Army, was Fred Wellman. We've had Army Sergeant Chris Goldsmith on. We've had re- retired from the Navy Melissa Corrigan, who is part of the Banner and Backbone Network. Frederick Pogue is part of the Banner and Backbone Network. He is a Marine veteran. Jacob Summers, a good friend of mine, is an Army veteran. We served together in the Army, and we didn't serve in combat together, but we were good friends serving together in country. And we have a network of incredible creators around here who are veterans who are speaking up. And we need more who are willing to do so. We need more who are willing to take the entry point of just going to the link that I'm going to put in the chat and put in the show notes at the end, and leaving a message that says you disagree with stripping veterans and Champ VA recipients of their right and access to abortions and abortion counseling. Like, Not even counseling. They could not get counseling. Doctors would not be able to talk about it. The rate of assault in the military is higher on average than it is in other professions. The rate of assault in the military is higher on average than other professions. That means you're more likely to be assaulted as a female, more likely to be assaulted as a male, too. We're just not talking about that right now because men's rights are not being stripped away. Saving these rights benefits men too. Like, if you want to be selfish, men, saving these rights benefits you. It's just straight up benefits you in ways you will never know. So fucking just sign this, go to the VA comment section here. This is a government public comment section that we are overwhelming the bots. We are leaving more comments than the bots are. We're providing heartfelt, citizen driven comments that if we get a higher number than they do, we win. That's how democracy works. It's 50% plus one. That means all you need is one. And if we can continue to overwhelm the bot farm from the right, which is incredible in itself, with citizens just putting a comment on, they will have to keep the policy because the way it is, where veterans have and CHAMP-PA recipients maintain their access to abortions and abortion counseling. It's important. It's important that you go and comment, leave a comment. I've done one, I'm going to leave another. It's okay to leave more than one comment if you can. Leave an anonymous comment if you want to. Um, do whatever you need to leave a comment. It takes less than 5 minutes and it's free. It's free. That's the biggest piece. I'm gonna drop it in here again, Sharon, and I'm also gonna put it in the show notes. So please look out for the show notes about half an hour after we're done. Um, and it doesn't matter where in the US you're from. Just put a comment. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be associated with veterans. You're associated with veterans just by being here with Banner and Backbone. You're associated with veterans just by listening because I'm a veteran. This network is founded by two veterans. Two of the three who are co-founders of our Banner and Backbone, Frederick Pogue and myself, are both veterans. Lawrence Winterman is not, but that was not by choice. He couldn't serve at the time. So we have a veteran community. A lot of our creators are veterans. Melissa Corrigan is a veteran. She's an incredible creator to follow, and she highlights veterans' work. It is important to continue to push back because it shows, one, courage is contagious. Like Ken said, like veterans, a lot of us say is courage is contagious. So is cowardice. Be courageous by doing the simple thing of leaving a comment, because if we can show again with veterans that we care, we can show that we care for other people, because veterans is a class and a group of people who are uniquely diverse. They're the most diverse segment of this country. The workforce of the military is the most diverse, not by need, but by necessity. It was by necessity, it's the most diverse because it's a citizen force of volunteers and everyone steps up. And typically, those who step up are those who are in minority communities. A lot of those in minority communities step up. They step up because they believe in the promise and the ideas of America and the Constitution. White people have to be provoked into signing up. White people have to be asked to volunteer by having our bases changed to Confederate names to get rednecks to volunteer for service for World War II. That's what we did to get people to volunteer for Korea. We changed names. We made things more racist for white people to join because not enough whites were joining, because the force was too diverse for these people. That's bullshit. The force is not diverse enough. The force is a volunteer force and is the segment of America that shows who cares the most, which means the most diversity is in the forces because they're the ones who care the most. People who join care the most in that situation. And they're the ones being attacked the most by our government and being left behind the most by our government and being forgotten the most by our government. Homeless population in our country is mostly veterans because we've given up on them. Most of those veterans nowadays are Vietnam vets and post 9/11 vets and Desert Storm vets. Those are people my age who are post 9/11 and a little older. Desert Storm, 10 years, 15 years older than I am. My brother and folks just a little older than him. Like, we've given up on people. And when we give up on veterans, we've given up on America. That's it. When we give up on our veterans, we've given up on America because we're the ones who signed that contract that said the government owns us in accordance with us following and defending and supporting the Constitution. They own us until somebody says we cannot defend and support the Constitution, and then we defend and support it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. We have a domestic enemy and a domestic threat that is tearing down our country so that we don't have protection, so that we don't have rights. We have a internal threat that is attacking our nation. It is a nationalist, Christo-fascist threat. It is a nationalist, Christo-fascist threat. Welcome, Jacob. Great picture, brother. Jacob's going to be off camera for us while we're on. But this is my brother, Jacob. He is a friend of mine from the Army. We served together and is just a good dude. And I love having him, talk and on. And I'm going to see if I can get Fred Pogan too, because he's texting me, and get the both of you on for the last 15 minutes. So Jacob, welcome, brother.
Ah,
Fred Pogue is here too. Welcome. We have
all right.
three now.
What?
Has
So
become
sorry,
ridiculous.
man. Like I had a business. I literally like 2 minutes before I was supposed to go on a business call popped up, and it was like, all right, this should be 10 minutes. It was an hour.
You know what?
Yeah.
It worked out. Ken and I had a great one-on-one discussion.
Cool.
And look forward to having him come back on the show with us.
Oh, dig
Um,
it, man. Dig it.
we
Yeah.
talked all about the VA policy proposal, to strip veterans of their right to have abortions or abortion counseling, and CHAMP VA recipients of having the right to abortion and abortion counseling. And CHAMP VA recipients are those of us who are in the 90 to 100% category, or more. The most disabled, they want to take the most away from. How do you guys feel about that?
I'll let Fred go first. Yeah, I will have my video disabled because when you asked me to come on, I was like, I can, but I'm gonna get done with a client, and then I gotta go run and grab a check from the bank to pay rent for the gym. So I am being safe. I am on a hands-free device with an ear, like basically just able to listen and talk. So continue. Fred, go first.
So I think it's really smart when you have the Trump administration taking people that have signed up in uniform away from their homes and picking up trash. And, especially when Pete Hegseth talks about a warfighter ethos. And then for people who've already served, who've either supported warfighters or been warfighters, and then you deny them help for their families, you deny them their health care. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get all kinds of recruits that want to sign up for the military at that point. I'm sure that's not a betrayal of your fundamental values. And I'm saying this all sarcastically because if I don't, the anger inside is going to well up to where, bodily harm wants to be inflicted on certain folks that, because this is
I'm gonna tell you right now, veterans, like I just got back from a meditation retreat in Albuquerque, which was put on by veterans. It was for veterans. The guy who put it on was a veteran. It was through the VA. You talk about meeting folks that like I've been through tough times. I've recently gone through some very dark and very tough times. I saw how blessed and fortunate I am when I was there. I mean, and I mean, you talk to people like, yeah, man, I didn't get in combat. I was a Vietnam helicopter ambulance pilot. I'm like, but you still saw the after effects.
Yeah, you lived through it.
You saw like you had to take the wounded on a helicopter, I mean, you saw it. You were there. And, these people are like, oh yeah, but I didn't serve in the same capacity. It's like, when I see and hear people like that who have suffered, like, talking to a nurse who was in the GWAT, 4 tours in Iraq, 3 tours in Afghanistan, just shattered. And she's like, yeah, I hope I can get into this therapy class with music because that seems to help my PTSD. But they may deny it.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Don't tell me you support the troops. Don't tell
When you
me
let
that.
us die afterwards.
Well, Trump thinks that he's a war hero because he authorized the drone strikes. So there you go.
And it's heartbreaking because like we're getting breakfast, we're getting like extra stuff, and right outside where we were staying downtown Albuquerque, there were homeless veterans, and we would go do a morning walk, and a woman was like, "Let's grab that fruit." I was like, "Okay," so we grabbed the fruit up, and when we go walk, and you could tell it was veterans by their bags, their apparel. We just start handing it out. Here you go. Like, we ain't got no money, but we got this, man. It's like, hey, what time is it? Oh, it's like, thank you so much, man. Thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it.
We've given up on these people. We've given up on our friends, our brothers and sisters in arm, and our others in arm, and everyone. America has decided that veterans are no longer a symbol of freedom and hope, and we've said that they're just as worthless as others. They're broken and they're othered. And so this
and
sort
that's
of
the,
leads.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
That is
go
the
ahead.
biggest crime for me of this ultra nationalist transition of the Republican Party and conservatives is that and I'm not saying that, we as veterans or any other veterans are above reproach or being wrong or anything like that. Never said that, but like there at least used to be some reverence on both sides, but definitely on the right side for, hey, whatever we do, we're not going to impact the veterans. Whatever we do, we're going to make sure we at least pretend to try to take care of our veterans. And now that's not even a safe topic. Now you get people on the right who are just actively like okay, well, whereas veterans were like that no touch issue before, now even that's been corrupted. So for me, that's one of the biggest crimes of this super alt right conversion is that even that which was considered sacrosanct to be able to make sure, like, look, we can disagree, but we're going to take care of our vets. Even not that we ever really did, but even that pretense that we were going to try has now been completely absconded with, and they don't even pretend to care about vets anymore. Like there's no pretense to care about vets anymore. So
Yeah, like before the election, I remember almost daily we used to hear the phrase 22 a day, 22 a day, veterans, 22 a day die of suicide. Well, one of the first things that the Trump administration did towards the veteran community was cut the VA suicide hotline.
Yeah.
To cut the veteran suicide hotline.
That was the
And
first
its funding.
cut.
That was
First
the
cut.
first cut. Like the first thing they said to us was they kept saying 22 a day, and then the first thing they did was cut the one service that veterans used to call or get transferred over to from a call when they get asked the question, which is no longer required at all, always is, Do you want to hurt yourself? Do you want to commit suicide? Are you thinking of harming yourself?
That's the reason I'm still here.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm still here.
I was at a physical, and it was on the form, and I checked it.
Yeah.
And I got mental health. You know, it's one of the reasons they have the meditation retreat. You know, it's they prioritize veterans that have PTSD. You know, that are in that I had it. So
Yeah.
or have it.
Have it.
You know, so and what you're telling us, like, you know, suburban, you know, like MAGA mom or dad, when you slapped your yellow ribbon magnetic sticker or magnet on your minivan back in the aughts, you know, because you supported the troops in going to Iraq, that you don't give a fuck about them anymore.
Nope. You don't.
And so don't thank me for my service. Don't. You thank me for my service by doing what you can for the veterans who are homeless that we gave fruit to, who are not as fortunate as me. And that's why we say these things when we're in these meetings, like, well, I didn't do this, because we know there are other veterans that have it as hard as we have it and as close to the edge as we are. There's so many others that have it way harder, and they're not going to be here. One of the things they did at the retreat that was heavy, they had the memory book, right? The memorial, because it's all veterans. And they said, hey, sign in somebody, you know, that you want remembered. And every day before we would meditate, right after breakfast, they'd come up and they'd read the names in the service. Do you know how many times we heard somebody name, service, war, VA, nurse, death by suicide, rest in peace?
Yeah. Like,
And it went on and on. And so it's like you realize there are people on the street, there are veterans that are not going to be here.
Yeah. And Jacob, I don't know if you've used either suicide hotline or, I'm getting a call from the VA. Talk about the VA. We're going to end this here, y'all. Let's have a great day. And
Have a good one.
we'll talk again.
See you,
Thanks,
bud.
everyone.
Thanks, man.
Bye, Al.